Welcome back into the shop, everyone. In this one, we are going to be working on a shoe rack table. Yes, you heard that right, a shoe rack table. I'm going to be combining kind of an entry hall table sort of thing with a shoe rack. The reason why I'm combining them is because it's going to actually make the best use of the space that we have in the front of the house. So, hey guys, really quickly before we jump into the project, if you enjoy my builds and my videos, I sell t-shirts just like these in different colors. This is a green one. I have them in black, blue, white, a couple other colors. Any money that I make on there goes directly back into these projects and funds these builds, and then that goes out to you guys to enjoy. So I would highly encourage you to go over there and at least check it out. It would do me a big favor and I really appreciate it. Instead of just going with a generic shoe rack with just probably 2 or 3 shelves, I decided to go with a little bit different of a design. With that said, there are going to be some challenges in the actual construction of this in order to make it functional, I guess you could say. For now, what we're going to go ahead and do is find all of the material for this project. The material we're going to be choosing is red oak and walnut. I have some material here in the shop, and then on the side of the house I actually have some long-term storage that I'm probably going to have to dig into to find the last couple boards as well. So with that said, let's get into the project. Now, originally for this project, I was thinking red oak for this, but after looking in here and also in the lumber that I had back in the shop, I think our best bet is going to be actually using white oak. I actually have a lot more of that than I thought. I didn't think I had a lot of it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these boards off of here and we'll see what we have. that we have all of our parts here cut down, I just finished up cutting down all of these smaller parts right here over on the table saw, and the rest of them, unfortunately, I had to do all on the miter saw and sneak up on the exact dimension on there. I wish I had like a stop block or a miter saw station or something better with that, but the maximum length I can cut on the table saw is only 30.5, I believe. So that was a little frustrating, but we got it done. So the next thing that I have planned for all of these parts are the mortise and tenons. This is gonna be a lot easier for this project because I actually have all the parts cut, and I'll only need to set up the data blade once. And then also I'll only have to set up the router jig once as well. So what I'm doing here is making a template in order to cut out all of the arcs for these cross members for the shoe rack. Now, for this, I actually made one initial template out of some cheap 1/4-inch plywood that I had. Now, there's a total of 6 of these that are identical, and then there's another 2 that are shorter, and then 2 that are longer. So I'm gonna have to probably either make a template or just do one-offs for both of those. So as you've seen in the last couple of clips, I've been doing a lot of the mortise and tenons, and in the past it's taken a really long time to do it just with chisels and chipping it out. So I've invested the time and the money into a router jig, and this kind of doubles as my router table for the moment. So with this jig that I made, it's out of plexiglass, and I made a couple of fences here, and I actually have two other fences that are longer, and these short ones work good for stock like this. So with this jig, for the layout, all I have to do here is mark the start and the stop points, and you can see I just put a little squiggly so I don't go on the wrong side. And these ones here were all the way through, and I only had to lay out on one side because I was able to plunge that full depth. So I'm able to get the full through mortises and then the half mortises for the shorter cross pieces on the side. So I can clamp this on here, and then I bring my hose. So just like that, I'm able to get a super clean, nice mortise. I was able to just plunge down at the start, plunge down at the stop based off my layout lines, and then use it like a normal router and just slide it back and forth until I reach the proper depth. So the router leaves a rounded edge because it's a router bit, obviously, and the last thing I need to do with this is actually make them into a square mortise. Alright, so as you can see, this thing is really starting to come together. I have all of the mortise and tenons done. So as you can see, one of the tricks I've done is just taking some tape with the letter that corresponds to the right joint, because some of these I had to finesse a little bit in order to make sure the tenon comes out perfectly on the other side. So I need to make sure that when I disassemble this, all of them come together back in the right spot. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart, sand them down, and then glue this. And as you can see, I'm also spacing these out a little bit with some blocks underneath, because these through tenons actually have an exposed little bit that's like 1/4 inch. So I don't want to hit the floor with that because it wouldn't seat properly. So I'm just standing it up here on these pieces and then pounding them straight through. So I got all of the glue cleaned up on both of these halves, and now it's time to actually glue the two of them together. I really need to make a clamp rack for these. So when I'm clamping this up here, I actually need to space them out with the blocks. And just like that, that tenon is able to see on the shoulder and it pops all the way through. That's my secret. Wait. Alright, so I just got done routing and sanding the top here, and this came out absolutely gorgeous. It was two pieces that actually were just long enough to come up with this length. And then I was able to actually put a nice bevel on the very front. And this actually complements this knot that just so happened to be right in the very center, and it just kind of pillows that whole front edge really well. I took a bunch of the scraps that I had and I was able to mill and resaw those down into a bunch of 2-inch strips just like these. Like this. It just finishes it off really well, and it's inset there a little bit. I think that's really gonna have a nice look. Wait. What I'm doing before the finish prep is actually spraying everything down with water and then wiping it down with a rag. And what that does is it actually pops the grain a little bit, and then when I sand that back with a higher grit, it then gives it a really smooth surface. And because I'm spraying a water-based finish, this is really important to do first. So I have the walnut slats drying over there, I have the base over here, and then in my little makeshift spray booth over here, I have the tabletop. So as for the finish for this, I'm actually going to be spraying. What I'm using is my Fuji Q5 sprayer. I have this sprayer on the ground here. And it's important to keep this outside of where you're actually spraying so that the air being sucked into this is fresh and not contaminated with any of the fumes. Alright you guys, so I got all my shoes loaded onto here, and it fit a total of 10 shoes and then 1 pair of boots on here. Part of the way I designed this was including taller shoes, so like these boots right here, I'm able to fit on. As you saw, I put a really subtle arc on the top here. There is one knot in here that I actually really grew to like. The through mortises came out absolutely gorgeous. I think in the future, if I do any projects with white oak, it's gonna have through mortises just like this. Thank you guys so much for checking out this build. If you did enjoy it, I would highly encourage you to go and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna be putting out projects like this in the future. As you saw in the previous video, I built an entire dresser in one video. This project was one video, and in the future, I'm planning on doing builds just like this. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you did enjoy this specific project, go ahead and hit the like button as well. I would really appreciate it.